Blizzard is bringing back my favorite skill in WoW history. This is amazing news. I am seriously thinking about playing Mage again. Hi, it's Llarold, and the new Frostfire Mage tree is extremely cool and super hot. Let's not waste any time, let's just dive right in. Frostfire Mage is, what a shock, a hero talent tree that is available to Frost and Fire mages. Let's just start right at the top of the tree and work our way down. The top talent here is Frostfire Mastery. Your damaging fire spells generate 1 stack of Fire Mastery. Your damaging frost spells generate 1 stack of Frost Mastery. Fire Mastery increases your haste by 1%, and Frost Mastery increases your mastery by 1%. This lasts for 12 seconds, stacking up to 8 times each. Adding stacks does not refresh the duration. So the idea here is that you're wanting to sort of have this ramping up and then falling off. You're ramping up to 8 stacks-ish, if you can get that many spell hits in 12 seconds. You get a little mini burst for a few seconds there, and then it falls off and then you rebuild. That's fine, that's cool, and that's definitely in keeping with some of the things that mages had over the years, like Incanter's Flow, where you would just sort of undulate between a no damage bonus all the way up to big damage bonus and then back down over the span of time. Let's move over here to the left-hand side of the tree, where we have a choice node right off the bat, Imbued Warding and Meltdown. Imbued Warding makes Blazing Barrier also cast a 25% effectiveness Ice Barrier, and that also applies to Mass Barrier, which is really good quality of life, group utility value, and then the opposite is true for Frost. Casting Ice Barrier gives you a 25% Blazing Barrier, also applying to your Mass Barrier. This is really great, and I think this is probably going to be the move for Mythic Plus. I mean, why not, right? The second talent here is Meltdown. You melt slightly out of your Ice Block and Ice Cold, allowing you to move slowly during Ice Block and increasing your movement speed over time. Ice Block and Ice Cold trigger a blast wave when they end. I think it could be useful in Mythic Plus, but really seems more like a PvP thing. It's definitely going to be funny to Ice Block and then be able to like slowly start creeping along. I don't think this is going to have as much value for PvE applications, though, as being able to bury yourself for more, and also bury your allies for a good bit more. This is what's really got me excited, right here in the middle. Frostfire Bolt. It replaces Frostbolt and Fireball, and it launches a bolt of Frostfire at the enemy, dealing Frostfire damage, slowing movement speed by 50%, and causing an additional Frostfire damage over 8 seconds. So it gives Fire Mage Frostbolt, sorta, and it gives Frost Mage Fireball, sorta, and it generates both a stack of Frost and Fire Mastery, so you're getting both haste and mastery out of this, regardless of which spec you're playing. Frostfire Bolt, at least way back over 15 years ago when it was added to the game, had my favorite visual at the time. It's something I've always really loved, and like I said, I'm really excited about it coming back. Okay, over here on the right-hand side, we have Elemental Affinity and Flame and Frost. These are both a little bit of cross-spec utility here. Elemental Affinity makes it so that as Fire, your cooldowns on Frost spells is reduced by 10%, and as Frost, your cooldowns on Fire spells are reduced by 30%. Now, this probably doesn't have much rotational implication. You know, we're looking at things like, for Fire Mage, getting a little bit of cooldown reduction on like Ice Block, Ice Nova, or Frost Nova. That sort of thing. It's okay. It's not a huge deal, I think, but then you're not really getting cooldown reduction on a ton of valuable fire spells as Frost. The only spells I can really think of would be Blast Wave and Dragon's Breath, I guess, for Frost. That's 2 different fire-based crowd control spells that you would get a good amount of cooldown reduction on. That's not too bad. The alternative here would be Flame and Frost, which makes it so that as Fire, Cauterize resets the cooldown of your Frost spells with a base cooldown shorter than 4 minutes when it activates. That's, you know, Frost Nova, Ice Nova, not too huge of skills. And then Frost makes Cold Snap additionally reset the cooldown of your fire spells. So again, we're talking Dragon's Breath, Blast Wave, useful. I think both of these are basically defensive utility options that aren't really that important in the grand scheme of things, but they're okay. Over here on the left-hand side, we have Isothermic Core. Comet Storm now calls down a meteor at 100% effectiveness onto your target's location. Hey, that's free damage. That's free real estate. And Meteor calls down a Comet Storm at 150 150% effectiveness onto your target's location. It doesn't say target's location, it says your target location, so if that typo were correct, it would cast it onto yourself. I don't think that's what you want. But yeah, I think this is pretty good, and I do like the way that Meteor and Comet Storm have been balanced out to account for their relative differences in cooldown and tuning and so on. That's great. Here in the middle, we have severe temperatures and thermal conditioning. Severe temperatures makes it so that casting frost or fire spells increases the damage of your next Frostfire bolt by 6%, and that stacks up to 5 times. That's pretty good. It gives you quite a bit of increase in damage on that sort of main skill that, like, you know, you bind it to 2 or 1 or whatever your primary action bind is, and then all of the secondary utility stuff that you're using or just other rotational skills are juicing its damage. I think that's pretty nice. And then there's thermal conditioning here, which just reduces the cast time by 10%. Also pretty good. Basically just a bit of free haste. Probably my guess would be that thermal conditioning is a little bit better as frost. You're a bit more frostbolt spammy than you are, say, fireball spammy as fire. I think severe temperatures will probably lend itself more to a fireplace style than thermal conditioning. Over on the right hand side, you have Frostfire Infusion. Your Frost and Fire spells have a chance to trigger an additional bolt of Frostfire, dealing Frostfire damage. This effect generates Frostfire Mastery when activated. So now you have Frostfire Bolt generating both Fire and Frost Mastery, and of course these free procs generating Fire and Frost Mastery. So you have a lot of things tying back into that top talent. As we move further down, you have Excess Frost, as fire reaching maximum stacks of Frost Mastery causes your next Phoenix Flames to also cast Ice Nova at triple effectiveness, or double effectiveness, 200% effectiveness. That's pretty good. When you consume Excess Frost, the cooldown of Meteor is reduced by 5 seconds. This is really nice, and then it's basically mirrored as Frost. Reaching maximum stacks of Frost Mastery causes your next flurry to also cast Ice Nova at 200% effectiveness, and when you consume Excess Frost, the cooldown of Comet Storm is reduced by 5 seconds. So really nice, and it really ties into the isothermic core cooldown value here, where Comet Storm and Meteor both gain a pretty substantial damage increase by casting the other one whenever you cast one of them, and now you're getting cooldown reduction on top of that, which that's something that I've really liked about Fire Mage for a long time. Like, I've always maintained just enough knowledge about Fire Mage to have a vague sense of what it is that they're doing. You know, I basically level 1 every expansion, and then I'm like, all right, well, I can't tank on it, so I guess I'll log off. And yeah, I've always really enjoyed the cooldown reduction spammy playstyle of Fire, and it's nice to see Frost get a bit of that added into it as well, because that's kind of the most fun thing that WoW has going for it when it comes to like fun specs, fun DPS specs, are the ones that have a lot of cooldown reduction built into them, and it seems like that is exactly what's happening here with this Frostfire talent tree. They're both getting some of that fiery cooldown reduction juice. So let's now just continue to Frostfire Empowerment. Your Frost and Fire spells have a chance to activate Frostfire Empowerment, causing your next Frostfire Bolt to always critically strike. Fire mages love this. It also explodes for 80% of its damage to nearby enemies, and best of all, it's instant cast. Over on the right-hand side, Excess Fire makes fire for Fire Mages. Reaching maximum stacks of Fire Mastery causes your next Fire Blast to apply Living Bomb at 150% effectiveness. When this Living Bomb explodes, reduce the cooldown of Phoenix Flames by 10 seconds. Again, even more rotational cooldown reduction for Fire Mage. You absolutely love to see it. Just like you love to see getting guaranteed crits that are instant cast and do AoE, do like Nova damage. You love to see all of this. As Frost, reaching maximum stacks of Fiery Mastery causes your next Ice Lance to apply Living Bomb at 150% effectiveness. That's pretty fun, and when this Living Bomb explodes, you gain Brain Freeze. So wonderful. Absolutely great. Another positive rotational impact. Frost doesn't really have a skill that you would want to reduce the cooldown on exactly in the same way that you would Phoenix Flames, but getting those Brain Freeze procs, getting that like big guaranteed chunk of damage out of that Living Bomb explosion is really satisfying, and both of these kind of key in perfectly to what makes Frost feel pretty fun and cool to play over here on the Excess Frost talent, and what makes Fire really good to play over here in the Excess Fire talent. And finally, we conclude with Flash Freeze Burn. Frostfire Empowerment grants you maximum benefit of Frostfire Mastery and refreshes its duration. So now this little sort of slow ramp up and then a couple of seconds of burn and then it falls back down to 0. This is now getting turned into basically just a huge blast of damage, a massive damage increase where you're getting, what, 8% haste and mastery, and you're getting like just a lot of damage out of that. And activating Combustion or Icy Veins also grants you Frostfire Empowerment. So you're getting this guaranteed as a bonus in addition to occasional procs. Really satisfying stuff. You love to see even more power being pooled onto cooldowns, even more cooldown reduction being added into like base rotational skills, but also onto major cooldowns like Comet Storm and Meteor and Icy Veins and Combustion. All of this is really appealing. It does make me want to play Mage, which isn't something that I've thought about like wanting to do in Mythic Plus and semi-organized group content in a long time. But this is all very exciting stuff. Again, I'm really interested in seeing what comes down the line for tanks, but at this point, man, this DPS stuff is so exciting that surely the tank stuff is going to be pretty good too. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.